Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Discriminating Gamer. I recently tried to console the wife of a serial killer after he killed himself. I told her, at least he died doing what he loved. Ladies and gentlemen, today we're going to go ahead and take a look at Halloween from Trick or Treat Studios.
We'll get back to the review in just a moment. I want to take a minute to ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about history, books on history, military history. I even post some of my lectures for my classes on there. Please check that out. Please subscribe to that channel. And now, back to the review.
In Halloween from Trick or Treat Studios, one player takes on the role of Michael Myers as he sneaks around the neighborhood stalking his prey. And up to 3 players will take on the role of the various victims who are looking for the kids and the car keys to get out of Dodge. The game board is a map of the neighborhood with 4 houses, a city street in between, is divided into various grid spaces. Now, what you're going to do is take the 4 cards that have the kids and the keys. You're going to shuffle them into 4 different decks, but they're going to be shuffled into the bottom of these search decks. You're going to place the 4 search decks next to the 4 houses, the different colored houses, and then what you're going to do is the Michael Myers character will actually take a player board, and he will take his card and place it on top of that player board that details his various actions. He'll also take the dry erase board where he can write down his secret movements. The other players will take their characters and they will place them on their player boards that also detail what their actions are during the game. Now, to begin, Michael Myers must write down any outdoor space that he wants to start in. The various victim players will look on their card and will tell them where exactly on the game board they begin. The victims will place their cardboard standees in their starting locations, while Michael Myers' standee will remain off of the board. Now, Michael Myers and his victims will each get 2 actions on their turn. Now, the victims, they can, for an action, they can move up to 4 spaces. Now, when they finish moving, they must set their standee facing one of the cardinal orthogonal directions. They have to do this, and they're facing that direction, meaning that is in their line of sight. They can also spend 1 action to move through a window. Now, players can search. If they are adjacent or next to one of the search tokens, they can go ahead and search. They can draw a card. Now, once they do that, they have to flip the search token over. So instead of 2 searches there, they can only do 1 search. And if they search there again, they remove that token from the game. They have to go to another search location in that house in order to conduct a search. Now, if ever one of these characters is adjacent to Michael Myers, they can attack him. If they have some kind of a weapons, they can go ahead and use it to attack, and more on combat later. Now, during their searches, they may encounter various items. They can go ahead and use an item for an action if it says so. They can do that on the card. Now, players can also trade with other players. If they're adjacent to another player, they can actually trade. They can't compel another player to trade with them, but they can conduct trades. Now, throughout all of these things, there are some actions that they can take in exertion tokens. And if they take one of these exert tokens, they can do things. For instance, if they are 1 space away from a window, if they do an exert action, they take that exert token, rather, they can move to the window and then move through it, or move through the window and then move 1 space. But as soon as they get 3 exert tokens, they have to take a rest action, meaning they have to clear all those exert tokens and just rest for a minute. Now, on Michael Myers' turn, there's different actions he can take. First of all, he can stalk, meaning he can move up to 5 spaces on the game board. However, if he passes through the line of sight of one of the victims, he has to leave a shadow. These are footprints there, so they know he's moved through them. If he stops in line of sight of one of the victims, then, of course, you put his standee there in the line of sight. For an action, Michael Myers can infiltrate, meaning he can move through a hedge or through a window. He can also pursue. Pursue allows Michael to move any number of spaces in a straight line that are not blocked by any solid or dotted lines. So this is a way Michael Myers can move across the board very quickly. Now, Michael Myers also can attack. Now, essentially, how attack works is, generally speaking, Michael Myers will roll 3 die. Now, these die are either blank or they have a knife on it. A knife indicates hits. Now, depending on how many hits Michael Myers inflicts on his enemies, they're going to take a number of hit tokens and place it on their card. Now, the same thing, the victims, they can attack Michael Myers too. They're going to roll a number of die, usually depending on what their card they have is. It will say how many die they get to roll, and then Michael Myers will take a number of hits. Now, for the victims, usually they've only got about 3 or 4 hits they can take before they're dead. Michael Myers, he can take up to 12 hit points, so he's much harder to kill. Now, as Michael Myers is moving, he is, of course, keeping track of his movements on the dry erase board. He is writing down where he's going. At certain numbers of his movements, which act as kind of the timer of the game, he will have access to draw special cards. And he can draw these Michael Myers cards, and they may have abilities for him to play at various times during his turn. Now, if a victim is killed, they return their cards to the nearest search pile, and the Michael Myers character takes their standee, places it next to him as kind of a trophy, because that's part of his win conditions. The victims are trying to locate the 2 children, Tommy and Lindsay. Once a character has Tommy and Lindsay and they have the car keys to either the yellow car or the blue car, as soon as that character gets to that car, they actually step on that car, then they drive away. The victims collectively win the game. But if Michael Myers succeeds in killing a certain number of victims, depending on player count, because once a victim is dead, the player can just grab another victim, and they're not, while the character is eliminated from the game, the player isn't, they can grab another victim. So if Michael Myers can succeed in killing the specified number of victims for the player count, or he can last until the specified game turn without the victims getting to the car and getting the kids and getting to the car, then Michael wins. Halloween. Now, I love hidden movement games. I love them. I think, if I understand correctly, I think the creator of this game is also the creator of Spectre Ops, which I've never played. It's like one of the hidden movement games I've never played that I've always heard is really cool. But one of my favorite games of all time, consistently in my top 10, if not my top 5, is Fury of Dracula. I love Fury of Dracula, which is this big, epic, and long game. And I also last year fell in love with Sniper Elite, which is just a fantastic hidden movement game set in World War II. But I really like hidden movement as a mechanic in games. It's really fun because I think it builds tension. Certainly, I've said this before when I played Letters from Whitechapel as Jack the Ripper. I thought I was going to have a heart attack the first time I played it. It was so tense, right? Now here, in a lot of those games, it's the people are searching for the person who's the hidden mover. And here, it's a little bit of a different dynamic because the Michael character who has hidden movement is actually trying to get into a position to attack the victims while they're not looking for him, they're looking for these clues in these houses. So this game, first of all, is only about an hour, roughly. It's not a long game. And yet it still manages to build tension particularly well. Now, the person playing Michael, the tension is on, but it's not on him like it's on in, say, Letters from Whitechapel, or even Fury of Dracula. But the tension here is placed more on the victims, right? Because they're trying to find these things and they don't know when Michael is going to show up. Now, they will have some weapons. They're hoping to get a few licks in. They're hoping to hurt Michael where they can. But their point is not combat. They're not actively seeking out Michael to destroy him. They won't last in a war of attrition here. So they've got to find those cards. So the victims have to work together. They have to plan together. But anything they say, Michael can hear. They can't strategize in secret here. As a hidden movement game, this game works very well. I think it's very fun. It's very thematic. I played this actually on Halloween with Kim and her daughter. We played this game, and they were telling me, I was Michael, and they were the victims, and how frightening it was not knowing when and where Michael was going to show up and when he was going to strike. I should point out they beat me. Anyway, but it was a lot of fun. We had a great time with this game, and I think this is definitely one that's going into my collection. It's a great, fun, engaging hidden movement game that kind of turns the genre a little bit on its head. I don't know that I've ever played a hidden trader game that, or pardon me, a hidden movement game that really played with this dynamic where you weren't hunting for the person with hidden movement. Really a lot of fun. I got it. It's thematic, it's scary, and it's quick. It's not a long game. If you don't have time for a Fury of Dracula, maybe this is one you pull out and you play pretty quickly. Really good. I don't know that I'd put it quite in the tier of enjoyment as Fury because it is so epic, or even Sniper Elite because I don't know that I love the World War II theme and there's a lot of fun stuff going on in that game as well. But this one really packs a punch. I really liked Halloween quite a bit. Highly recommend it. Recommendation for the discriminating gamer for Halloween is buy it. Well, thank you once again for joining us on The Discriminating Gamer. As always, we ask you to please leave a comment for us on YouTube, on Board Game Geek, on our Facebook page, or on thediscriminatinggamer.com. We'd ask you to please like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on YouTube, and follow us on Twitter. I'd also ask you to check out my other channel, that is Cody Carlson, PhD, where we talk about military history, books on history. I post some of my lectures on there. I would ask you to please check that out. Please subscribe. That would mean a lot to me. Also, we'd ask you to leave a thumb to this video on Board Game Geek. Now, if you are a fan of the channel and you like the content we bring you here, we would humbly ask you to go ahead and click on the Super Thanks button on this YouTube page and leave a tip. Serial killer jokes are okay, as long as they're properly executed. Please somebody